lastly, I think is really being critical and constantly being critical about everything, including yourself, which means as soon as you find comfort, you must remind yourself this may not be creative anymore. So somehow in negation of what is being good. So I think Chinese, if you really analyze Chinese people, that's exactly what it is. For example, in my hometown, Xi'an, we had this saying like, we never think anybody is better than yourself. You know, whoever we heard, oh, who and who doing something good, we say, oh, that's good. I haven't started. If I do it, it's better than that. Right. So, no, really, that's why Chinese never come together forming any kind of collective whatever, because everybody think they're better than everybody else. I think that's creativity in the end, right? So...
Creativity sounds a little scary, but I have to corroborate, because, you know, the common myth is I've spent time in this country, in Hong Kong, and now in China. And the thing is, you know, growing up in Hong Kong, and no disparity, you know, I'm not trying to be rude about Hong Kong, but I remember people say, oh, you know, nobody creative ever comes out of Hong Kong. Chinese are not creative. And then you come to the U.S. too. Oh, you know, one of the most racial stereotyping thing is, oh, you're Chinese, you must be really good at math. So there's a kind of education where people are telling you what you're good or not good at. And then, of course, now in the last 20 years, China, the country, proved everyone wrong because there's such a rush of creative production from Chinese people. Surprise, you know, they're actually creative. And you don't have to be rich and affluent and privileged to be creative. Because I was always told, you can't afford to be creative. You know, be a lawyer, a doctor, be a business person, but you can't. How are you going to make a living off of being creative? You know, but you immediately translate creativity as an anti-survival condition. And, right? So I think it is learned. We are taught, we are drilled into some notion whether we're this way and that way. And that's where independence does come in, because those who are the most independent will have to navigate against the tide of education in that case. But just imagine how great it is if you're not going to be educated that way, and that you actually can develop naturally what your proclivities are. I mean, that would be really, the answer to that question about natural born. And again, I agree, Yeohlee, the things, we are all creative. The thing is, some people use it is in a creative business vocation, and other people, like us, so we're kind of poster child, for creative people, and we wear black and stuff. But in fact, you know, you're all creative. Living life and coming out, one piece is creative.
It requires to be creative.
Right.
Yeah, you're being challenged in a very creative way. Yeah.
So, okay, here's another one that sort of follows that. How do you communicate and collaborate with others, even from other backgrounds or cultures? And does that collaboration influence your designs? How do your designs cross cultural boundaries? Is it only through simplicity? Now, you have to answer that one first, I think, because...
As architect, as you know, this process of creativity is really blurred. I mean, we work with almost everyone in the process, and everyone is more powerful than we are. We became the agents of interest and then really navigate through the process. So our creativity is actually flunking out what you think is right. It's really bringing all the right elements from every collaborator from the process. My own work in Xi'an, where I'm from, I actually built homes and hotels in the mountain. It's all built by peasants, local workers, who doesn't even know how to read a drawing. So we did the whole thing without any drawing. It's me going there, show them how to lay brick. And so through that process, I come to I think all architects, if they have not come to it, so they should quickly, that's also in our education, is to actually distill or extract the inherent intelligence from other people in the process. And I think that's the creativity sometimes then is really a kind of collaborative or overlapping intelligence. And so the outcome is amazing because those peasants can do something we could never even imagine. But if you draw it as you think it should be and give to them, they tell you they don't know how to do it. Right. So that's something I want to share in this. Yeah.
Could you say that earlier that we're primarily aloof in a way, right? But at the same time, you say you're not. And it's not a paradox, because as an architect, I totally understand what you're really trying to say, which is that when we talk about collaboration with others, obviously it could be a farmhand, it could be a developer, it could be your parents, it could be another creative person. And I think it takes great sense of yourself to understand where your center is. And we all know the more confident you are, the less arrogant you need to be, because you know who you are, where you are. And I think that's probably the most important thing for me as a creative, so-called creative person or person in a creative enterprise, is that I really need to know, feel grounded. And once you feel grounded, you can work with farmers, you can work with developers, and not less that their kind of realities throw you off. They're just trying to be themselves as well. And what you say is that you extract the essence of what they're trying to do, find that commonality between, again, universality, that's simplicity too. Keep it simple. Make it a simple communication channel. And that's how you can put yourself on the same agenda without sacrificing individual objectives, right? Yeohlee, anything to add to that?
No, I'm kind of impressed by what he had to say. Yes, I think that's really amazing. There's another flip side to what you said, and I don't know if it's something that we want to discuss within this context, Calvin. But sometimes, though, the capability of the talent around you, it can really make you leap forward, or it can stymie you. Like if you have, in New York, we're going through something that's not so great, which is the garment industry is shrinking. So the pool of talent is narrowing. And it's been my task to try and convince the designers that we really need our infrastructure in order to call ourselves the fashion capital of the world, which is arrogant. But in any case, I find that as the pool shrinks, I am personally convinced that it'll affect the level of design. But it's yet to be seen because it's a process. But you've seen it in architecture, but I don't think it's affected you.
Do you think it's affected us? I think it does.
You do?
Yeah.
I think there's a fracturing and a marginalization that hampers all creative impulses. It's hard to go on and on about that because it's kind of depressing. But anyway, let's celebrate something more fun. Further, these are several questions. I'm going to distill them, which has to do with, it says, Japanese soft power as embodied by its traditional and pop culture and design grabbed the world's attention as a nation rose to economic power. Will the same happen to China? And have you seen any signs of ascendance of China's soft power in culture? Another one is, what's the current state of Chinese art and applied art? What kind of influence does it have on the Western civilization? So first I have to say that, creative power has no boundaries. And so we assign it as Japanese, Chinese, French, German. But hopefully when it's released, we all it resonates in a way that makes us closer, rather than elevating one as a more powerful source. It's not about dominance, I think. It's really about sharing. So what do you think? Anyone?
I'm thinking.
Okay, so
Well, I think the ideal is very noble, and to kind of imagine a future that all cultures would have equal value in the kind of world view in the future. But however, things are still working in a very segmented way. And each nation in their financial power, their cultural influence is still pretty much kind of trickled down to who are doing what and what the world view them.